It's day number 2 of the 53rd FIL Luge World Championships, and it's another spectacular day in the Coast Mountains of Western Canada. A beautiful look high above the Whistler Sliding Center, the site of the 2010 Winter Olympic Games, and now for 2 times the site of the World Championships. Now, this was the scene yesterday where the mixed doubles and mixed singles events were held for the very first time. Austria capturing the mixed doubles, and then here in the mixed singles, it's an Austrian team of Egla and Glacia taking bronze. The Americans in second place, Emily Sweeney and Johnny Gustafson, and the gold medal going to arguably the 2 best lugers in the world right now, Germany's Max Langenhahn and Julia Tobitz. We'll be seeing all of these great athletes over the next couple of days as we kick things off today with the women's doubles and men's doubles competitions. And then later on, nighttime sliding here in Whistler, it'll be the women's singles competition where 2 of those women, in fact all 3 probably, Madeline Egla, Julia Tobitz, and Emily Sweeney, are among the short list of favorites to win the World Championship. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. This whole weekend kicked off with an exciting opening ceremony held in Whistler Plaza, downtown Whistler Village, on Friday night, with dancers and speeches and a parade of athletes, a lot of festivities, a lot of spectators, in fact, a lot of friends and family members of all of these lugers, including those 2 winning Germans. Their family came all the way from Eastern Germany to hear their anthem in Canada. So the first 2 medals have been presented to world champions from Germany and Austria, and now we reset the table for a lot of exciting action. We'll start things off, as I mentioned, with the doubles competition, and to help with the call this afternoon for women's and men's doubles, I'm pleased to reintroduce one of our regular commentators from Team Italy, a member of the FIL Executive Board, Leon Felderer. Leon, welcome back. It's great to be sitting next to you again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, what do we see in store? We've had great weather, maybe a little warmer today, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit warmer today, but I think, you know, it's not very humid outside, so the track will hold up just fine. We've had some close racing yesterday, so I expect to see that again today. And it's going to be a super exciting World Championship.
Well, Leon's going to give us a little tour of this track, one of the fastest tracks in the world, coming up in just a few moments. As you can see, we're on the side of Blackcomb Mountain, one of the preeminent ski resorts in all of North America. In fact, I believe that the Whistler Blackcomb Resort is the largest in terms of skiing terrain in all of North America. So the athletes were getting ready. Still getting ready, in fact, up near the top. The Austrians will field 3 teams in search of a world championship today. All 3 of them have won in the past. The Americans have a couple of teams to take part in today's action. Germany, Austria, the ones to beat in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the Austrian sleds are just running well again, as they did all season long. The Germans have a very competitive start, which is very good on this track because it's one of the shorter tracks and it's very flat up top. So you need to be very competitive at the start in order to have a good result then in the finish. Also, the Latvians, you know, might be in the mix up there. Maybe the Italians as well. We cannot forget about the Americans because they do very well in these conditions. You know, they had amazing speed yesterday in the mixed event. And I think they're going to do well as well today here as well.
Well, you've covered every base there, Leon. Yeah. You left nothing to chance. It's a good point with the Latvians because Martin Spots and Roberts Plume, when they are on, they're as fast as anyone, including Germany and Austria. So that'll be a fun one to watch. As the preparation happens, this is a great new drill involving instinct and reaction.
Yep. Yeah, the warm-up game has been a bit reinvented lately.
16 curves from top to bottom, obviously a few less from the lower double start on a track that was constructed first in 2005. The first runs took place in 2008, a pair of bobsledders who actually crashed on that first day of testing. And of course, the site of the 2010 Olympic Games. So let's take a closer look, our 3D graphics as well as our what we'd love to call the Schlitten camera. Did I say that right?
Yep.
The POV ride from top to bottom. Leon, tell us what we need to know about the track today. Yep. So they start right above curve 7, Luder's Loop. That actually was where that crash happened, the Olympic gold medalist Pierre Luder's.
I've never seen the real names of the corners, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the athletes, other than Koenigsee, it's all about numbers.
Yeah.
But Koenigsee, you know the names, right?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, here's our POV, point of view. Look, from top to bottom, the Whistler Sliding Center.
All right, so this is the start corner for the women doubles and men doubles. Heading out to the straightaway, which is not really a straightaway. It's a bend away. So there's not a lot of speed here yet, and this is the most important thing, this corner, where you need to have a strong steer out, that you get into 50-50 right, otherwise you're gonna have troubles then, and you're gonna feel how fast it really is. And then this is already the last corner for the guys, and yeah. So as you can see, it's a very short track. Definitely has the potential to be scary because it's just getting really fast, even though it's short. So from curve 12 downwards, it gets very fast, and you don't feel it unless you mess up. And if you mess up, then yeah, it's gonna get spicy down there.
Spicy is a good word to put it. The air temperature has warmed up quite a bit, at least compared to most of the week of training and yesterday's competition. Let's hope that the track holds out with 3 races taking place today. The track crew is doing a great job to keep things in order. That start record by your former teammates, Ludwig and Patrick, from several years ago. The track record by Tony Egert and Sasha Bennigan dates back 3 years. And Tony will be in today's race. Who else will he be joined by? Well, there's your start list. 18 total. The first 3 from the qualifying group. No Nations Cup here at the World Championships, but they had to race off to decide their start order. Then you have all of the seeded athletes, counting them up to number 15, the 2 Tobys, the all-time winningest World Championship podium finishers. They added to that yesterday, and the Tobys are just sliding better than they ever have, Leon.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how they are performing this year also on the start. They are, you know, they have a good age for sliding, I would say. But they're still very competitive. They might actually be the fastest double, you know, in terms of start times, which is just impressive.
Amazing.
You know,
37 years old.
At the age of 37, to compete with the young guns and actually beat them, that's just an incredible story. But you know, I talk to them and they feel amazing. They feel better than they ever did, they say, and you know, it's been paying off.
No question about it. They have won 3 races in a row on the World Cup heading into these World Championships, and then they were on the podium yesterday as well in the doubles competition, the mixed doubles event. As I mentioned, spectators from all over the world, virtually every North American lugers family has come here, but so have most of the Austrians, a good number of German family members, spouses and parents. Very exciting here in Whistler, and the biggest event of the year, getting set to start things off here in men's doubles run number 1. That will be followed by women's run number 1, and then the second and deciding heat for both men and women will follow right after. From Team Ukraine, Igor Hoy and Nazare Kaczmar, 25 and 19 years old respectively.
The track is clear for Igor Hoy and Nazare Kaczmar from double start.
And Leon, right off the bat, when the track is clear, the doubles athletes have 30 seconds.
35.
35. Get those shields down, grab those straps, grab the handles, and sometimes the athletes will talk to each other. Sometimes they already have the whole routine down.
Exactly.
track. Thomas Bevercheck advertised in double start.
Problem right up the top.
Not a problem, but it was close to becoming a problem, but they did well. The track looks amazing. Guys, it's like a mirror.
This pair finished 23rd in last year's World Championships, which were held in Altenburg, Germany.
Oh, that was not the perfect line, yeah. And we see already the first trouble going into 50-50. So that's actually why the cone is called 50-50, because it's so challenging that you have one good run, you have one bad run.
50% chance of making it through, and from 50-50 all the way through curve 16 and around the finish, they were skidding. Nothing dangerous, but certainly time and costly.
Yeah, you can see that problem coming up. Just too high at the end of 12, and that hit before 13, and then it's just slides to survive game. Here we can see that too high at the end, and then the jump into the fire, as we like to call it, and then just a drift down. And you just try to hold on and not fall off the sled. You can see a very nice slow-mo here.
And just enough to put some skid marks into the track for the subsequent sleds.
Disappointing, of course. But they have another chance in the second run.
14th place last year at the World Championships in Altenburg. This is Team Slovakia, Tomas Vaverčák, Maciej Zmi. Slovakia on tour all season long with a men's team only. None of the women athletes are on the senior level, which is too bad. It prevents all of these athletes from taking part not only in the team relay, but the mixed events.
Yeah, you also be sliding with Veronica as an international team.
Team Argentina.
But in the doubles, it's not so easy to have an international team, as only the bigger nations carry around, or like with women doubles. So it's not easy for them to partner up with an international team. Looking much better here, very clean lines.
As you see the clock on the lower part of your right, the green is good, the red is bad. For those of you new to World Cup Luge coverage, World Championship coverage, a couple of hits, but just before the finish line, the speed was working in their favor, and that 1 second advantage over the Ukrainian team is really just a reflection more of Ukraine's mistakes than it was of a solid run right here.
It's actually a very solid run. Maybe a skid here, which we could not see, but overall, I think they're going to be happy with that first run.
A welcome to all of our viewers around the world who have tuned in on our YouTube FIL Luge channel. The chat window is already just very, very active with fans from all over the world. So we welcome your questions, your comments, your feedback. Certainly criticize me, but not Leon, because he knows what he's talking about. As the Latvians, the first of the Latvians, grabbing the handles right now, Edwards, Ševiks, Mikliševiks, Lucas Krasts. Lucas was injured, missed a few races, and is now back with his longtime partner. Leon, you talked a little bit about a bend away early.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a straightaway and a bend away and a curve?
So bend away is basically a straightaway that there's a little turn in the middle of it. As you can see, it's not straight, and it can be tricky because you need to steer in this bend away. So on a straightaway, ideally you just let the sled run. In a bend away, you need to steer around the bend, and that's the biggest difference. It's good to see them back in the back racing after Lucas has been out for injury for a few weeks now.
Solid run.
That's a solid run and a solid time.
Martins Rabenis, the head coach on the right there, he seems pleased.
That's 2/10 off the track record.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, as Latvia takes the early lead here.
They just moved into first. Yeah. We are really about
So with Latvia out in front, it's a good time to let everyone know that throughout all of the 3 races coming up over the next, or the 4 races, both doubles, both singles races over the next 2 days. There's a race within the race. This is a tradition on the FIL at the World Championships. They have an under 23 competition, and that's actually big. That shows a lot of potential among athletes. But I can tell you, Leon, that this American team, Mueller-Hauxel, they will be the 2025 under 23 world champions, because doubles in the men at least is a little bit of an older discipline, and they are the only doubles team with both athletes younger, and considerably younger in their case, 19 and 20 years old. And they come off, of course, of a junior world championship last year. So the first of 2 from the USA, Mueller and Hauxel.
It's their first full season on the senior circuit, and they've been having an amazing time. They do so well. They have an incredible start, incredible speed, good weight. I think they might be the heaviest double actually that's in the field. They've been sliding really well, and you know, all that put together, it just means good results and good speed down the track.
As far as results last year, even though they weren't on the tour much, they did race in the World Championships where they finished in 13th place. And they also had a 17th place at the World Cup here in Whistler. They struggled a bit yesterday in the mixed doubles.
Yeah, they did, but this looks much cleaner. Yeah, it's a solid run and a little bit faster than the Latvians.
Well, they stopped across that finish line, and they did. They didn't do it that cleanly down there at the final turn, but they did it well enough to have the lead by 700ths, the United States over Latvia. 4 sleds down, 14 still to come, including one very tough podium contender coming up next.
Like we say, the start is so important in this sport, because any advantage you get on the start,
They will be happy with that first run for sure, after the run in the mixed relay yesterday. It's a little small hit out of course 16, but they were able to keep it together at least until they crossed the finish line, which is good, because you can lose a lot of speed, because that's actually an uphill section that you don't see. And you know, whenever there's an uphill section and you make mistakes, it's just, that adds up. That adds up.
3 top 5s, including 2 podiums and 1 victory on the World Cup for the youngest of the German teams, Hannes Arlamunder Palagubitz, the first of 3 from Germany in today's competition. And of note, Leon, last year at the World Cup here, I'm sure it was their first time ever here, they finished on the podium, 3rd place. Some people just like certain tracks.
They've been having a bit of up and down season. Lots of trouble in the races. Then they won in Oberhof. Yeah, so they definitely know how to slide. They have very good speed if they make it down, and we can see them already leading ahead of the Americans here.
300ths at the last split, now nearly a 1/10 of a second. Did you see some slight errors there?
No.
Just good speed.
Just good speed, yeah, because they picked up a lot of time from the second to last to the last split time.
They sure did.
So we got it close to the track record now.
That time of 38.268 is only 200ths of a second off the track record.
So
something about the Thuringians, those out of the Oberhof area, they do well here in Whistler.
Yeah.
Max has done well over the last few years. Julia has as well. Mirla Frabel, that young wimp, I believe she has 2 podiums here. And this track is nothing like the Oberhof track.
no, not at all. That's like the total opposite, I would say.
Emanuel Rieder, Simon Keinswaldner, the first of 2 Italian doubles teams in today's event, 31 and 30 years old respectively. Rieder said they have mixed feelings about the track in Whistler. They had a good race here once, but last year they weren't that fast. So they did finish 12th last year. It's always a puzzle being fast on certain tracks on certain days.
Yeah, exactly. That's a difficult job that the athletes have to do, to be fast on a race day, because that's when it counts. You can be as fast as you want in training. As if you're not fast on race day, then you know, doesn't count, unfortunately, and they're falling behind a lot. It's been a rough season for them. They're lacking speed, like a lot of speed. They've been sliding okay, the lines look good. It's just, yeah, you know, sometimes the time is on your side and sometimes it's not. And right now they're struggling to find the speed.
The setup of the sled, as we take a look at Hall of Famer Armin Zogler, a 6-time Olympic medalist, is it the athlete's responsibility, the coach's responsibility, or Leon, does it really kind of boil down to how experienced the athlete might be?
Well, I think that's personal preference. I know that those guys do a lot of their own, you know, sled-wise. I prefer to do it with the coach because I don't trust myself enough to do that.
And you have someone to blame if you're not fast.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that comes down to personal preference. Some like to do a bit more, some a bit less. Yeah, but yeah, obviously they are not very stoked about the time that they saw in the finish. You know, 5/10 behind. It's a lot of time with an okay run. Yeah, they will definitely look more into the setup for next season. Try to find some speed for the Olympic Games coming up then, which is the most important race for us athletes.
Indeed it is. And just a moment ago you saw the Polish flags flying down at the finish outrun near the finish deck as they are cheering on this doubles team of Wojciech Chmielewski, 29 years old from Załkomy, and his longtime partner Jakub Kowalewski, a 30-year-old from Karkonoska, Poland.
Let's see what they can do. They're already 10th behind. If you're like a little slower up at the start, it just adds up because it's so flat at the top, and that's where it starts dropping. And that's where you gain a lot of speed.
They've had 2 top 10 results this year, including a 7th place finish on the very challenging track in Sigulda. Good aerodynamic form. It looked like some pretty good driving, but again, the speed wasn't there as they sandwiched themselves right now in 4th place between Latvia and Italy. Here in the early going, it's Germany over USA and Latvia, the top 3, with the top seeded athletes still to come.
Not a bad run there at all, but they had a little problem down in the Gold Rush Trail, down in the labyrinth at the bottom of the track where you guys are standing.
Pretty solid run here from the Polish guys.
14, they went very high.
Nice transition here.
Run up into 15, and that really made a difference to the gentlemen from Gold Rush.
Nie spać, dopingować! Jeszcze jeden! To jest korweczek. Jeszcze jeden! Nie ma spania.
All right, now trying to rebound from a very disappointing World Championships last year. The team of Zach Di Gregorio and Sean Hollander, they finished 21st in Altenburg. But Leon, here in Whistler, they've been training really well all week, and they finished just off of the podium with Forgan and Kirkby yesterday in the mixed doubles, 4th place.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do. Those guys love those conditions. They love the track. They are competitive at the start, which is important. So, yeah.
Only the 5th fastest start time, but just 9 thousandths of a second behind the Germans.
You don't need to be the fastest at the start, but you need to be competitive. It's already a lot of time that they lost up top. Let's see if they can speed up a bit here, down at the bottom. Because usually they really like those conditions. The American sleds run well. Oh,
they
late
have lost
entrance into
0.2 of a second. So now across the finish, it's a 4th place time, 28 behind Orlamander who beats. Win, lose, or draw, Caroline down there at the bottom always has a lot of reaction.
Well, they had a late entrance into 16, which can be a lot of time that you lose there. Other than that, I think the run was pretty solid. Nice start, nice settle. Nice start corner.
It's USA right now in places number 2 and 4. Germany leading the way, Latvia in 3rd. fourth. If he could listen to us, we would tell him fourth place. That's the focus on the face of Ivan Nagler. He and Fabian Malaya, like you, Leon, products of the Naturbahn, Natural Trek program in Italy. And Ivan said, you know, he said something that contradicts you earlier in the week. He says you can't miss the start here under any circumstances. The start time has to be right. But I guess to your point, it's not necessarily the exact clock time, but how you maneuver the start has to be right.
Yes. Oh. And they have the fastest start time, so that's a good way to start into the race.
3.26, that's 3/100ths of a second behind the start record by the Italians, Rita Grasna. I thought there was something in the track, but that's actually our monitor.
Oh, and troubles. Oh no, big height at the end of 14.
1400ths back at the next split. Let's see how that big height cost them.
That
2700ths back.
That's such a pity.
That could have been probably a third place and maybe even a second place time had they not made that late mistake. And it happened so fast I didn't really catch it. We'll hopefully see this again.
Yeah. Well, the trouble started here out of 12. They just rolled back a bit too much, and then the sled starts skidding late into 13, and then probably hit before 14, and then that sends you downwards into 14, and then you have too much height at the end, and that's where you feel the speed. But yeah, it's not what you want for a World Championship race, obviously, but you know, that's what happens, you know, and that happens so quickly that, yeah.
Well, this man right here with the number 10 in front of your screen is the winningest all-time champion in men's doubles luge. Tony Agert has 5 gold medals at the Worlds, all of them with his former partner, Sasha Benniken, and his 8 overall podium positions, 2 behind Wendel and Alt. Now with his brand new teammate, Florian Müller, they teamed up this season, and all they did in the opening race was win that competition. Leon and I were announcing that race. That was a bit of a surprise.
That was a big surprise.
But they've come back down to earth a little bit since then.
Yeah, they started out great, but lately they have not been having good speed, not good runs. They've been struggling a bit, which makes sense because it's their first year together. Oh, also here, like a skid into 11, too much of a loop. Just a little bit off, but he's keeping it together. But definitely not the way if you want to have good speed down at the bottom.
1600ths, can they keep it somewhere in that neighborhood? They do. They lose another 300ths down at the bottom, but it positions them currently in 3rd place behind their German teammates from Oberhof, Orlamander and Gubitz, and the Americans Mueller and Haugshaw.
So let's see what happened here. Yeah, it looked like there's just too much of a rollback, and then late into cone 11, and you want to be as early as you can to hit the first pressure right, to not loop too much. Here they were already back on line again, going into corner 16. But yeah, that just cost them a lot of time.
So really quickly, if you want to follow with the results as you're watching the live feed, if you go to the website fil-luge.org, hit on live ticker, and you will get up-to-the-minute results, which show the Germans leading the way. But this pair have been wearing the World Championship bib all season long. That's because they are the defending champs from last year in Altenburg. The first of the Austrian teams all going consecutively here. This is Gott and Schuff.
Now we will see what, whoa, good start time for them.
4th fastest, but faster than the leading Germans. Now, the Austrian sleds have done something I call magical most of the season down in the lower part of tracks, but they've lost a bit already.
They lost a bit already, but I'm excited to see how that evolves out here, because that's where those guys really shine, down at the bottom. That's where they found more speed than anybody else.
1400ths, and this is the final curve. One little hit, they will lose more time, a 1/4 of a second back. 5th place right now. Germany leading over the USA, Germany also in third, Latvia, and this, the first of the three Austrians in fifth place.
Like I said, they're the world number 7. So these tiny mistakes.
They really worked on their start during the summer, so they are very competitive now at the start. Usually those guys are the big event guys, so they know how to give it an extra push at the bigger events. But they're just not as clean as they needed to be for today to take over here the lead from the German team.
It's been a bit of a breakout season for the next team from Austria. Yannick Müller, Armin Frauscher, 3 podiums in a row in Sigulda, Altenburg, and Winterberg. And in that third one, Yannick's parents surprised him right before the race. They showed up, coming from Blue Dents, and they watched him win his third or his second of 3 podiums. And the Müllers have traveled here to Whistler.
Yeah.
So they love watching their sons compete.
Yeah. Well, if you have 2 in the mix, then you might as well make the trip out of here.
Yes. Great yelling from Coach Peter Pence.
Yep.
Really nice paddles. They look like strong paddles, but it's not a strong start time.
Not as strong, but still competitive, I would say. Any times under 30s, I would consider a good start time. A bit skiddy through 9. Not ideal. So they're losing a bit of time, obviously. They're just not as clean as the German team was. Let's see how close they can keep it.
Great look at that Whistler Thunderbird curve, the finish curve. Really nice form around the finish. 1800s keeps them very much in the mix. It's really tight right now. The Germans, the young Germans, Orlamunder and Gubitz still lead by over 1/10 on everyone else, but then you have the Americans, the Austrians, the other German sled, all very tight. You know, one competition within the competition that begins probably right now this week, Leon, is the fact that, of course, next year at the Olympics in Cortina, only 2 sleds from each country can represent them in doubles.
Maximum of 2 sleds.
And when you have maximum, so when you have Austria,
not many nations will get a second spot, unfortunately.
That's true. But all the same, when you have a nation like Austria and Germany with 3 very competitive teams that have all won races, there's going to be a little bit of drama over the next 12 months.
Definitely.
This is actually the newest of the partnerships among the Austrians, Thomas Stoy and Wolfgang Kindl, only in their second year together, but these 2 Olympic medalists in doubles and singles stormed out last year, winning the World Cup overall in their first year together. Not as many paddles as we've seen some of the others, and I know Wolfgang's had a bit of an injury.
Yeah, he's been battling an injury since the crash in Altenburg. They were really going for it at the start. It looked like it.
It's only the 11th fastest start time.
Yeah.
It's the 11th out of 13 sleds.
But for that, they are not losing too much time. They are actually quite fast here.
Stoy won the Olympic medal back in Beijing with his former teammate, Thomas Kola. Let's see how this shakes out down here at the bottom. Yes, there's that Austrian speed down below. Now just 0.08 of a second separate the top 2. Head coach Christian Gantlia seemed pleased with that as he watched all 3 of his teams come down back to back to back and at least has 1 to celebrate.
Solid run. I really like the position of Thomas on the sled. He's already always pushing for good aerodynamics. And that's very important in this track because you have high speeds down at the bottom.
Best speeds we have seen are in the neighborhood of close to 83 miles per hour. That was the Americans Di Gregorio and Hollander. Now here are Olympic medalists from Team Relay, Martins Batz and Roberts Pluma. They had a relatively disappointing 7th place finish last year at the World Championships in Altenburg. In fact, I believe they're still looking for their first ever podium at the Worlds, despite the fact they've won a number of races on the World Cup.
Yeah. Well, they've been having an amazing season so far, so maybe this is the one that they will medal in.
2 victories, 2 second-place finishes on the World Cup.
It's amazing.
They're usually fast at the start as well.
Yep.
Third best.
I'm excited to see, because the other Latvian team had quite a good speed as well.
They did, and that's not something they've had a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of a mystery, but Roberts told me earlier in the week he feels really comfortable with the speed here this week.
I actually see that they're not losing much time. To keep it close. Very nice looking run though. That's incredible sliding here from. Oh.
That cost them, as you see from the clock, probably about 500, 600 just by making those tiny little mistakes just in the final straightaway. But they hold to form. They're in the top 3 with 1 remaining among the seeded group. So they're well in position to perhaps win their first ever podium at the Worlds.
It was a very solid run here from those 2 guys. Just a small mistake here at the exit of 16, like the 2 hits, but they were still able to kind of get away with it in an okay manner. So that didn't cost them too much, but obviously you lose a lot of time because that's an uphill section, and you know, if the other guys go out straight without hitting walls and you hit walls, you obviously lose a bit of time and speed.
The Bavarian Express has been rolling pretty well, thank you, over the last month or so. Tobias Wendel and Tobias Alt have won the last 3 World Cup races. This from the team that has won 6, that's right, 6 Olympic gold medals. They've won 10 podium positions at the World Championships, 3 of those gold. That fastest start time. That is unbelievable.
It's unreal.
A 3.25. That is 1,000th of a second off of the start record. This has been impressive to watch, Leon, this season.
At the age of 37,
now
in the best shape of their life.
They are losing a little time down here.
A little bit,
It was
yes.
about 200ths there. Now they're into the red. This should likely still be a top 2 or top 3. It's second place. It sets up a great second run as you have 4 sleds, 2 of them from Germany, 1 Austria, and 1 from Latvia, all within a 1/10 of a second. Then the Americans, the other Austrians and Germans are all within 2/10. Now, one thing we saw a couple weeks ago in Oberhof is that one mistake on that track would probably cost you a 1/10 or 2/10. It seems like here you can make a mistake and maybe only lose 2 or 3 hundredths.
Yeah, depending on where you make the mistake.
And how bad that mistake is, right, of course.
Because if you make a mistake up top, then that's going to cost you way more because it's flat, and from corner 12 downwards it's very downhill, so if you do a small mistake there, it's not going to cost you that much.
But the Tobies are right where they want to be, putting pressure on their young teammates in run number 2 as they're just behind them in the standings. Now we move ahead to the non-seeded group, and certainly one to watch here at home. Devin Wardrobe and Cole Zajanski from the city of Calgary. And this pair had a career best 4th place finish on this, their home track, 2 years ago at the World Cup. Best result this year on the World Cup, just off of the top 10, 11th place in winter.
That's a focus from these guys. Nice looking lines. Losing a bit of time.
Looking like about an 11th or 12th place. 12th, yes, 38.639. Not too bad this late in the run. And listen to the crowd of fans from Team Canada in the background.
Yeah, they lost a bit too much time at the end. Because they had great training times as well. I'm sure they expected a bit more out of this race.
We're going to assume, at least in this, the first of many runs today that the track is holding out just fine, because some of the fastest runs yesterday late in the day happened with the last few competitors. So Tracy Seitz and his crew here in Whistler have obviously, as always, done a great job keeping the track in good shape. We will close run number 1 with a pair of Romanian doubles teams. First up, Jitland and Zerban. They teamed up yesterday with Stramaturaro and Manalescu for Team Romania in mixed doubles. Their best result this year, early on in the season, 14th place in Innsbruck. A short track, just like this, although the Innsbruck track, the doubles went up with the women, right?
Yeah.
So a little longer than it used to be.
But I would say that this is comparable to the track in Eagles. Needs to be very smooth if you're driving. It's very short. The start is important. An okay run here from the two Romanians.
But we've seen nothing, and I don't want to jinx this yet, even closely resembling a crash here in run number 1. So that's great news. We've seen some bad skids. There was one, in fact, right there for the 16th place time out of the 17 for Romania. But it's been a safe track, and that's great news under the sunny skies here in Western Canada. Coming up in just a little bit, we've got women's doubles run number 1. Then we'll have the exciting conclusion of both the men and the women right after that. But we've got one more team still to come. Not a team that will challenge for the podium. And everyone's a winner today, Leon, because normally they'll cut the field down after run number 1 to 18. But since there are only 18 starters, they'll all get a second heat.
They will all get a second heat.
Run number 1 concludes with Stefan Maverick Honderek and Sebastian Iceman Motza. Yes, let's see what kind of Top Gun run we can have right now. The two Romanian teams have really been battling closely all season long. And of course, only one will take part tomorrow in team relay. Different nations have different qualifying standards to see who gets that coveted spot.
Oh, that's an interesting line here going into corner 9. They've already had a bit of a shaky saddle at the start, so they lost already some time up there, and then an interesting line through the bend away, just a very long way, and very late entrance into 9. Here they seem to be, and a big skid going into corner 16, and a big skid out of it again.
The result of that being they are a distant 1.3 seconds behind the lead. Second to last, 17th place out of the 18 that made it down all safely here in run number 1 at the 53rd World Championships in Whistler.
Definitely not the run that they were hoping for. Here we can see already a bit shaky of a saddle.
Yeah, they were hugging a few walls. Not really hitting them hard, but coming close.
Too strong of a roll back, and then the sled started to skid.
And that's one thing about that big screen down below, is if you have a big monitor, if you have a bad run, it's staring at you during the slow-mo replay.
Yeah.
And they get the green light. That's good news, as they're greeted by teammate Valentin Cretu. We'll see Valley tomorrow in men's singles. But here's the run 1 situation. Germany 1-2 in the standings. Austria in 3rd. Latvia in 4th. USA completing the top 5. And those split times are pretty tight. 8 teams within 2/10 of the lead, within just over a 1/10 of the podium. So it's going to be a fun one in run number 2. Leon, you're the expert, but I've covered enough of these races to say, how can you bet against the Tobys currently in 2nd place?
Yeah. Well, basically you can't bet against them.
You make a little extra money if you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's close racing for the first, I would say, 4 or 5 spots. They all seem to be having good runs, so I'm not sure how much more they have in there. It definitely comes then from having a faster start than a second run, but obviously that's going to be hard to beat the Tobis with. Yeah, it's gonna be tight racing. It's gonna be super exciting to see who's gonna become world champion here in Whistler.
Well, for all of our luge fans watching live around the world here on the YouTube channel, the FIL Luge website as well, we're going to stay live and get ready for the start of the women's run number 1. Leon and I are going to take a little break to have some water, catch our breath. But again, don't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere. The live coverage continues. Women's doubles, run number 1 coming up in just a moment or two. Busy week here in Whistler, Canada. Next week, they will hold the Invictus Games at the Whistler Sliding Center, showcasing the incredible resilience and determination of the wounded, injured, and sick servicemen and women from around the world. They'll take part in a skeleton competition. And of course, all month long, in fact, all winter, skiing galore. It's one of the best resorts in the world for skiing. And the biggest event, at least for us, unfolding right here, the 53rd FIL World Championships. We're getting ready for the start of the women's competition. Just 12 teams on hand here. And I'm Tim Singer, along with Leon Felder of Team Italy. And Leon, 12 teams, but they're all chasing one team. That's the team at the top of this page from Team Austria. How amazing have Egla and Kip been this year?
It's incredible how they just slide so well. The sled is running well. Yeah, they just have good times, and sliding is good.
Good times and good times.
Yeah, they are going to be the one to beat today for sure.
They opened up the season in Lillehammer with a disastrous crash in run number 1, and they came back, I believe, with the fastest run in heat number 2. Ended up in 6th place in that race. Every other World Cup race since then in November, they've been the winner.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible streak of 6 in a row. They'll be coming up midway through, but we start things off with Team Poland and Nikola Domovic and Dominika Piwacka. 22 and 21 years old. They will be taking part in this under-23 competition, along with the Canadians, I believe one of the American teams, and that might be it. No, actually, Egla and Kip will be part of the under-23 as well. I don't think that one matters quite as much to them today, but we'll see.
Definitely not.
Also Latvia, which will be going late in this competition. So this will be a spirited race within the race, but truly what's at stake right now is a world championship, and it begins with Team Poland. This pair of ladies currently sit 9th in the World Cup standings with 2 races remaining, both in Asia. They've had a number of top 10s. Their best result in 9th place in Innsbruck, as well as Oberhof.
Solid looking run here. Maybe a bit late into 12. Yep, and troubles.
They regroup, they eat up the track quite a bit, they eat up all of their time. As you see, 124 kilometers an hour, that's 71.1 miles per hour to the finish at 39.811. We didn't get around to talking about the start record, which this was nowhere near, of course. It's a second off of a start record that was set 2.5 years ago by the Italians, Andi Vetter and Marianne Oberhofer, on the way to what I believe was their first ever World Cup win. Start record, Degenhardt Rosenthal, 3.36.
Yeah, here we can see that they hit going into corner 13, and they did their best to stay on the sled, but obviously you lose so much time. That's just too big of a mistake to still have a good time then down in the finish.
Well, when women's doubles was introduced to the World Cup 4 seasons ago. Slowly, some of the singles athletes made their way over to doubles, including Diana Eitberger and Raluca Stramatararo, and we saw some others take part in both. The last woman standing was this woman, number 2, Alina Stechkiv of Ukraine. But even Alina now, I believe, has made the full-time switch to doubles after racing a couple of races this year in singles. She teams up here for Team Ukraine with Alexandra Monk.
Yes, doing double duty is just so much work and so much time that you need to invest. You need to train twice during the week, just sliding. You know, there's athletic training as well on the side of that. So you need to have basically 3 sessions a day, and that's just a lot. And yeah, it makes sense to focus on one thing because it's so different. You know, doubles and singles, it's very different from each other, depending on if you're a top or not. But still, I would say it's a big difference in terms of how sliding is done. And, you know, there's a whole lot of things that go into sliding on a double sled because you're on there with somebody, and
Precision,
you need to sync your pedals. You need to sync your driving,
your balance, your turns, even.
Exactly. So there's just a lot, you know, and you know, switching it all the time. It's too much for most athletes.
They trailed for most of the run before picking off Poland down at that lower section where the Polish team had trouble. So an early lead for Ukraine. They get the green light, no sled inspection for them. And all eyes to the top for a very young team in their first year with the seniors. This is Beatty Podolsky and Kaylee Allen. I got those names right this time. Kaylee, yeah. And they are in the under 23, 19 and 21 years old. Beatty said earlier in the week that the exciting part right now is that they are relearning the sport, because, and this plays off what we were just talking about, because doubles and singles are very different. And they are both products of the singles program. They have still had some junior races this season.
I'm excited to see what they can do because they've been having good speed actually during the training week. So for them, they said it's just another training run. They go run by run. They said they don't want to put too much pressure on themselves because they're still very young. They're just trying to find the flow on a double sled, but this looks amazing. It's an amazing run here.
2100s up at the last stop. Now it's 3900s. It's just a beautiful line. Even around that finish curve. They knew just when to raise the head. That is great. 39.143. That is really only about 2400ths, I want to say, off of the track record.
That was an amazing run. Probably the best run that we've seen all day.
2 athletes from the city of Calgary, not from here in Whistler. Calgary is where the first track in Canada was built for the 1988 Olympics.
Also here, a very nice transition from 15 to 16. This is as good as it gets in terms of driving.
Excitement and also relief. Sometimes the end of run number 1 is when a lot of the pressure falls away for these athletes. Diana Eitberger, Magdalena Machina. Diana originally from Oberhof, but has made her home with her partner and son in Bavaria for the last 6 or 7 years. And Lena, the very young bottom athlete, 19 years old. She is from Bavaria as well. Diana, an Olympic silver medalist in singles in 2018. Diana will be sitting in your seat later today to help commentate the women's singles competition.
Such a powerful athlete, such a legendary singles athlete.
You were on the podium yesterday in the mixed doubles.
I was about to bring that up because they had a bad season. They've been battling.
It's a learning curve. Oh, and not the perfect lines there.
Not a perfect line, but it was still okay. Like a little late into 13, but you know, with all the experience that Diana has, she knows exactly what to do.
And they just kept building on their lead, 0.2 of a second over Team Canada. Hugs all around. That's Patrick Leitner on the left in his first full season as the head coach of Team Germany, an Olympic gold medalist in doubles himself.
That was actually quite close to the track record again. So we're like 300s off or 200s off.
Yeah, that's
300s, yeah.
38.92, just off.
And they definitely had the 300s in their run.
Well, maybe we'll save that for the Austrians coming up in just a moment.
Probably. We probably will. We'll see. But they still need to make it down, you know. It's anything can happen. It's not just.
Look at what a great mentor and coach Diana is to Lena.
Yeah.
She's been coaching her like that all year through rough times and good.
Yeah.
Maya Chan, longtime women's doubles athlete with her former partner. In fact, they finished 5th last year at the World Championships in Altenburg, but she re-teams this year with Sophia Gordon. Both of them part of this under-23 competition as well, 21 years old and 20 years old, respectively, from the middle of the United States, actually nowhere near the tracks in Lake Placid or Park City.
Maya Chan previously with Ryan Wheeler and has had some success in doubles already.
Solid looking lines here up top. Oh, and I hit before 12 and I hit before 13 and they're over. Yeah.
This is the first crash of the weekend, or I should say of today's doubles competition, and it can happen so quickly.
Happens so quickly, yeah.
If they carry the speed across the finish, and it would appear they're not going to, then they would get a second run. But again, this is a case, Leon, and let's just make sure they're okay, but this is a case of how luge just doesn't happen quickly. Even for the seasoned athletes, when you have to have a new partner, you need to be patient.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everybody's different. Everybody behaves different on Sledding here. We can just see them hit, and they just, only pick up the end of 13, and there's not enough corner to stay on the sled, and they just flip, and it's a pity. But the problem already happened going into corner 12, so they hit there and then carried too much height at the end of 12, hit before 13, and then, that's the 50-50 corner. And it lives up to its name. I hope they're okay, though.
We see Sophie right there, and now we see Maya also getting out of the track, so they're okay.
Yeah.
Good sportsmanship, a good hug. That's the main thing, but a very disappointing first World Championship for that American team. There'll be another from the USA still coming up in a moment, but here is Romania's entrance, Raluca Strămăturaru. The 2018 Olympics, she had the highest finish of all Romanians in any sport at those Olympic Games, her 7th place in women's singles.
That was incredible.
In fact, dating back to 2010 at the Olympics here, Raluca's younger sister Violet was a member of the 2010 Romanian team, and she crashed during training and did not start at the Olympic Games. In fact, she said, and I'll use some Spanish here, no mas. She was done with luge then. But now 15 years later, Raluca is plugging away at 39 years old. She made the switch to doubles. She teams up here with Mihaela Manolescu. You picked up something, Leon, very early in the season in Lillehammer. You were the first to mention this, that we saw that Raluca was not necessarily using the best aerodynamic position on this sled. And that's continued most of the year, where the head comes up and it stays up a little bit. Safety is, speed, I should say, is traded for a little bit of safety.
That's what I would say too. But you know, she has so much more experience than I have on a sled, and maybe it just works for her and she doesn't want to change it. She had not the best run here from Raluca. A little shaky from the start, and then a little late into 10, and just loses a lot of time.
And Romania, which has had some flashes of brilliance over the years, have really consistently had trouble generating speed. Just something about the equipment, just inferior to not only the large, powerful nations, but even some of the other smaller countries. I'm not sure why.
Well, especially in women doubles, you know, they all have this standardized Kessler sled, so they all are on the same sled. Yet there's still such a big difference. All they can change is the runners. So must be the runners that needs to be changed, but it's so difficult to find something that's faster than what you're on because you're used to that. So it takes a lot of research and a lot of trial and error, basically, to find something better.
And no such problem on the runners of this sled. Selina Egla, Laura Kipp from Austria. They've won 6 in a row on the World Cup. They have won the World Championships last year, so they're defending that title. There's no reason to believe they won't do it based on what they've done all year long. Egla and Kipp, both 22 years old, both from the Tyrolean region of Innsbruck.
Usually not known for having a fast start, so they're a bit behind Eidberg and Machina, but they're already in the green. The way Selina's sliding is just amazing. Like, looks so calm and relaxed. Everything's in control.
Selina and Madeleine's mother and father have traveled from Austria to watch this World Championship. Not a perfect bottom part of the track, but a track record as they opened up 500s to 700s, and the celebration just continues for these two world champions.
Yeah. You know, the way of the calmness with what they're sliding with is just unmatched. It looks so relaxed, so in control, and that's what makes you go fast on a loose sled. You need to let the sled run, and that's what those two know to a perfection.
Just amazing what they've done this year. Selina Egla and Laura Kipp.
Incredible.
This is without a doubt the fastest sled in the world, men's, women's, doubles, or singles so far this season, and they will head back to the top and look to successfully defend their world championship. Now, we still have several teams coming up here, including the next two who very well could contend for the podium.
Yep.
Team Italy. Now, Italy's had 3 different doubles teams throughout the season, but only brought one to the World Championship, and it's a team that won bronze 2 years ago at the Worlds in Oberhof. Andrea Vetter and Marion Oberhofer.
Not an ideal to start. Not an ideal way to start into the race. She struggled to get into the sled.
So the settle is so important, as important as the start time, which, by the way, was the fastest so far.
Yeah.
Now 400ths of a second.
Yeah, they're
lead.
living off the start right now. Let's see if they can match the speed of the Austrians here down at the bottom. But they're losing a bit of time, but not too much, which is a good thing.
Into the red now. This should be second or third down below. It's going to be very tight between the Germans for second place. A little bit of a correction at the very late stretch by Andy Vetter. Right now, 1/10 of a second back to the applause of coach Armin Zugler. It's Austria over Germany and Italy, with another German sled, 2-time world champions getting ready at the top.
Let's see what happened here at the start. Yeah, other than the shaky saddle at the start, I think the run was pretty solid. Andrea always is known for having great lines. So they're going to be happy with that, I think. And they're only like a 10th behind, so anything can happen.
Jessica Degenhardt, she's been battling a cold all week, and she teams up here, as she has for the last several years, with Cheyenne Rosenthal. They come from 2 different regions in Germany. They're both former world champions in singles, and they're one of really 3 teams from Germany that could all be on the podium today. Only 2 of them are here, but the youngest of the teams, Storch and Potts, they just won the Junior World Championship themselves, and they're going to be good. They could be knocking on some doors next year in trying to qualify for the Olympics.
And for women doubles, there's only 1 spot in the Olympics per nation.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be more than drama next January in some of these hotel rooms.
You bet.
Jessica and Cheyenne won the opening World Championship in women's doubles. That was in Winterberg in 2022. Then they defended that the next year in Oberhof. Last year, they had a very disappointing Worlds, 13th place.
Very disappointing.
Jessica's home track in Altenburg.
Bit high at the end of 14, so they're falling a bit behind.
Should still be second place, or close at least. Third.
Yeah,
Third place, 200ths of a second behind their teammates Eichberg and Machina.
That's so close, huh?
That is close. They will be battling for the podium. They will be battling for the win. They'll also be battling for a spot in team relay tomorrow for a German team that just goes into the weekend as one of the two favorites before you have even seen any activity.
Yeah, they have a very good depth in their program. So, you know, whoever's racing, they're going to be fast. Yeah, little height at the end of 13, maybe a bit too early to 14. We could not see that. So it was not a perfect run, but I would say it was still a solid run. And the time shows it.
Top 5 in just about every race this season for this next pair of athletes, Upeit and Koluma. They've had one podium. They had a podium earlier, third place in Innsbruck. And Anda Upeit, the top athlete here, had a bit of a drama last year in training at the World Cup, where she had one of the worst crashes we've seen in a while. Ended up teaming up with Koluma later in the season. They've been pretty steady for Latvia.
Zana Koluma last year here. They had a really tough go in. They crushed.
Very solid, actually. They are able to keep it close here with, yeah, it's incredible.
They finished second last year at the World Championships. And let's see how tight this is here.
Might lose a lot now.
Yeah, losing a little time, Leon. Just down at the bottom. And again, you got to wonder about the Latvian sleds. Because it looked pretty good for a while.
Yeah, she was able to keep it very close with the Austrians, and that's a good sign. Then she, the line was a bit off, and here in Whistler, if you're like a little bit off, that's just too much because it's so close together. But yeah, it still looks fine. A little bit of a correction here at the start, but no big deal. But she just likes the World Championships.
Yeah. Some people rise to the occasion on big events, as you will tomorrow.
Yeah, I will try. Always amazes me that some people just have that in them.
This Latvian sled currently in 5th place. Their teammates from Latvia are still waiting at the top before they go. It's the second of the two from the United States, Siobhan Forgan and Sophia Kirkby. They opened the season with a career first ever World Cup victory in Lillehammer. Siobhan, originally from Australia, and it seems like everyone that's from Australia now lives in Whistler. Let's see how she'll do here with the fastest start time, 3.37. That's just 100th of a second off of the start record.
Yeah, they're known for having a good start. Let's see if they can match the speed of the fastest sleds that we saw in this competition.
They were on the podium last year, a bronze medal in Altenburg at the Worlds. Just 1,000th of a second, but not good lines there through that series of curves.
No. Skid going into 13, but a great correction. Then they were right back online. Oh, and now.
A lot of trouble for Siobhan and Sophie down at the bottom part of that track. It's a 5th place time. They were probably contending, if not for the lead of the Austrians, for a podium position for most of that run, but now they're really going to have to battle it to see if they move up a couple of spots in run number 2.
Well, the good thing for them is that it's very close together, and they do have a lot of time in their run. So here we can see the skid that sends you right back up at the end of 13. It's just a lot of work that needs to go in there to get the sled back online, and also here the hits. I think that could have been a lot of time. They could have been a couple of spots further up that timesheet. But they, you know, they have a second run, and you know, it's great to know that you have something in your run going into the second run then.
The 12th and final team to qualify for this year's World Championships in Whistler. The second entry from Latvia, Marta Robanica and Kitja Bogdanova. Two very young athletes who have had great results, 2 podiums this year, a pair of thirds. They had a DNF. They had basically a crash last year in Altenburg at the World Championships.
I remember. She hurt her shoulder during that crash, so she was out after the World Championships last year. She came back this year, and it looks like she's been sliding better than ever before.
And this is not only only their second World Championship. This is the first time these two have ever been.
Oh, really?
Here in Whistler.
But I mean, you know, they're so young still, and the way they slide it's amazing. I really like the way they're sliding. Oh.
We saw that a number of times yesterday, but really, Leon, we didn't see those problems in the outrun until the last 2 sleds here.
And that hurts. That hurts so much because you're so fast, and those walls do not mess around.
So just as the case with the Americans right before them, they were at least fighting for a podium spot.
Yeah, actually.
For most of the way down before troubles on the final few curves, 50-50, and then curves 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, they just had a wave in 16, and they were not able to steer out at the right moment. Too much height at the end, hit the wall, and you know, on a double sled, if you start hitting walls, it keeps going until you stop, basically.
They call that section of the track the Gold Rush Trail, and you've got to master it if you want to win gold. So we get a good look at sport director of the FIL, Matthias Boehmer. He's everywhere all at once, running the event, running the operations, but running by everyone here in women's doubles. Egla and Kip, it's 7/100ths of a second over a German team, Eitberger and Machina, that are looking for some of their first magic of the year. Degenhardt and Rosenthal are in search of World Championship number 3. Then you have the Italians, the Latvians, and the Americans. Those are the 6 teams, really, all season long, that have been fighting for the podium. So it's not a big surprise, and it's somewhat fitting that despite a few problems here and there, it's going to be a fun run.
It's going to be a very fun run. I'm super excited for the second run already.
That's the situation for Leon and I and all of these athletes here in Whistler. The 53rd FIL World Championships will continue from Western Canada in just about a half hour. So a 30-minute break for those of you who are tuning in live right now. And you won't want to miss the action as we've got men's doubles and women's doubles coming up. Then the women's singles on a very busy day number 2 here at the 53rd World Championships.